I get asked all the time, why do young people drop out of school? Why do they quit? There are all the reasons. I'll steal from Mr. Sagan, who you heard earlier today. There are billions and billions of reasons that young people drop out of school. And the reason I emphasize that is because some people look for simple solutions. As many reasons there are also solutions. And it's complex work. It is not easy, and it's daunting at times. Like there are galaxies, you can see in that star field, there are themes as to why young people drop out of school. And the first theme I'll talk about is poverty. The irony of hearing Raheem say today that we live in the wealthiest jurisdiction or belt on this planet is truly, I find fascinating, because the young people I work with live in grinding poverty that leaves them little opportunities to learn. The subsets of poverty are things like poor nutrition, lack of health care, crappy housing, high transience, addictions, abuse. The list goes on, and it doesn't stop. The number one predictor of high school achievement or achievement in a student is the socioeconomic status of the parent. And I know I'll get letters from the Fraser Institute for saying those kinds of things. But it's true. The real tragedy for me is that we, in years gone by, have lost students for the cost of a bus pass. The kid can't afford to get to school, and we lose them. And that's a tragedy. The second theme I'll talk about are learning differences. We've known a long time that we have to accommodate for young people who have what we would call learning disabilities, a reading disorder, all those things that go along with them and how to work with them. In the last 5 years, we've seen an ever-increasing number of young people who have very severe mental health issues and health issues coming to our world, simply because they cannot compete in the regular high schools of our system. 55% of our students carry a special ed designation. 20% of them are severe, and their chances of completing high school are slim unless they get extra support. The third group of young people I would talk about, or third theme I would talk about, and you heard it this morning or this afternoon, are our First Nations children. In Alberta, less than 50% of the young people with a First Nations background graduate high school. That is also a shame. Our population of young people has gone from 5% 5 years ago up to 20% this year. They've discovered us. They like our flexibility, they like the way we work with kids, and so they're starting to flock to us. We will adjust and adapt our program to meet their needs like we do for every student. We make our program fit the student as opposed to the student fit the program. The fourth theme I'll talk about is a strange one. It's called hope. The basic human emotion of hope is what drives us to go to those places. It's what gives us the courage to do the things that we need to do. And for some reason in our students' journeys, hope has either been suppressed or squashed or taken away from them. They no longer believe that they can learn. They don't trust adults because adults have been the one who's been in charge that way with them over their careers. Pretty big picture. If you have an Aboriginal background, come from poverty, have a learning difficulty, and don't believe you can learn, your chances of finishing high school are slim and none. That is to our detriment in our futures. But there are solutions. We figured them out as we've gone along over the last 20 years trying to figure out how to work with these students. The first thing I have to say is I have an absolutely fabulous staff. We work in integrated teams. There aren't just teachers there and teachers' aides. Yes, I have teachers that do academic work with students. And yes, we're governed by the Program of Studies for the Calgary, for the Alberta province. I also have a wonderful group of support staff whose job it is to look after Maslow's basic needs. Young man walks in, it's 20 below, and he doesn't have a coat. Get him a coat. You haven't eaten for 2 days? We'll find you some food. You're couch surfing for the last month? We need to be able to find you a stable place to live so you can get to school on a regular basis. It's not as difficult as you think. The third group I have working for me is I have a wonderful group of psychologists. And they aren't there just to do assessments. They're there to actually do clinical work with young people, either in individuals or groups. All my staff are trained in therapeutic crisis intervention. And I mean all my staff, including my secretaries. All my staff have standard first aid, because you could be first on scene. Most of my staff have assist training, which is suicide intervention. Because we do things like that because we don't get to choose the students we will build relationship and rapport with. They choose us. And it might be my secretary who gets disclosed that a young person is going to go do self-harm. And she has to know what to be able to do about that. The one facet or trait that runs in all of my staff is the ability to build relationship and rapport with young people who are reluctant. Relationship is the heart of our work. And as an educator, I can tell you after 39 years, if there is no relationship with that student, there is no learning going on. It has to be established. And with our young people, it is difficult because they don't trust. The second solution we offer is we're incredibly flexible. We have a continuous entrance, continuous completion, and a continuous exit model. They arrive on November 1st, and they arrive on June 15th. We welcome them in because we take them from where they're starting. We flex the program to meet our students' needs instead of vice versa. We have already had 11 young people complete their high school diplomas this year, and it's only November. But they might have been working on them for about 3.5 years. That's how we function. We're also flexible in the sense of how we let young people attend. The average age of our students is 17 and a half, 18, they're adults. They have to start making adult choices. Some of our young people, because they have to work, and the most do, only attend 3 hours a week, but they get a tremendous amount done. Other ones attend every day, every minute, and we wish they didn't because they're not getting as much done. That just happens. It's the variance in between there. Young people have come and asked us and said, I can't get down here during the day. I'm working. So each one of my programs is open in the evening. And young people take advantage of that time to come in and do their schoolwork. About 10 years ago, 60 of my young people came to me and said, why do we stop in June? I didn't have a good answer. So we run a summer school. And it's not your prototypical summer school where you start a course and end one. Our young people continue on in the learning they're doing throughout the year. Last year we had 235 students attend summer school. It was amazing. Because you have to remember, these are kids who don't particularly want to be in school. At least that's what we're told. Yes, we feed our students. It's an amazing thing. Everybody knows the way to a student's heart is through their stomach. Every day. We have a wonderful relationship with the Brown Bagging Society and fans and Cobb's bread. And for some of our students, the only food and nutrition they have that day is what they get at school or what they take home with them. We don't have a means test. We know, well, this kid's got money, he can't. We don't even ask. But we do have young people who will leave with Safeway bags of sandwiches and food because they also have younger brothers and sisters at home that haven't eaten. It's hard to describe when you have a student who hasn't eaten. They can't learn. It's hard to describe when a student who hasn't dealt with the issues from their early age, the abuse they suffered. They're struggling and they're learning too. And our psychologists work through those issues. Are we working? Yep. I can quote you stats that in 2003, the Calgary Board of Education's dropout rate was 6.1%. It's now 3.3%. Only a 2.8% drop. But you have to remember, the system is 100,000 students, so it's significant. I can quote you stats where our fifth-year completers, who are the clientele we deal with, the rate of their finishing high school has gone up by 8% in that same 10 years. We are part of the solution. We are not the solution, nor are we successful with every student, and it hurts every time we lose one. Stats are wonderful. They tell a story, but the story of our young people is more important, and I'm going to share one with you. Sarah came to us in the fall of 2008. She had to because she had to work to help augment the family's income. Her family was her father, who had significant health issues and had to quit work. He was a single parent. Her brother, who was estranged from the family and was angry with the world. A mother who had disappeared 6 years before because of her own addictions issues. And Sarah. She had 2 courses to complete, her English and her social studies at the 30 level. And then she would have her high school diploma. But she also wanted to take dance because that was her passion. Great kid, Mark's in the mid-80s, doing really well, lots of fun to talk to. Beginning of December of 2008, her brother committed suicide. The family did not have 2 pennies to rub together and had to fundraise in order to pay for the funeral. Father, who was estranged from her brother, did not want to go. Sarah convinced him it was the right thing to do. We had staff there supporting Sarah. And the word I got back was too many young people and not enough adults modeling the kind of behavior you want at a funeral. The dad had a massive coronary and died. Now you have a young woman who is left in Calgary, 18 years of age, no family in Alberta, struggling, trying to figure out what to do. Our school program put a safety plan in place for her. We made sure she had somebody to come and see her over the Christmas break. We made sure she had food. We made sure she had Christmas presents to open up. But we also had to get a lawyer for her who would work pro bono with her. Because a week before Christmas break, the housing authority told her she had to leave by the end of January or the end of December because the apartment was in her father's name and he qualified and she didn't. And also her mother surfaced, wanting half of Dad's meager insurance policy. You can't go much farther on the tragedy treadmill than Sarah was. She made it through the Christmas break, came back in January, and really struggled. She didn't finish her courses. She went to dance every week, and that was the only thing that kept her going. She didn't walk her stage, and she didn't graduate. Most schools would have quit on her by then. We don't. Why did we bring her back? We brought her back because it was the right thing to do. We'd seen a young woman devastated, deprived of all hope, and ready to quit the world. So in August, I brought her back with my transitions lead teacher and my dance teacher, and she sat in my office, and I said, I have an offer for you. Come back this year, we'll work with you off the books. We won't get any funding for it, but you'll get your 2 courses and you'll get your diploma. I have some conditions, though. 1, you have to be a good role model to our young people. 2, you have to work every day, be here every day, be diligent in your studies, and get along with people. Being a typical outreach student, Sarah looked at me and said, I have a condition. And I said, what's that, Sarah? She goes, I want to go back to dance. I said, absolutely, you can go back to dance. We hired her as a junior instructor and paid her a small stipend. And through the course of that year, she followed through on everything she wanted to do. She was diligent in her studies, and she passed her 2 courses. On June 10th, 2010, she walked across our stage, but she also said the blessing at the meal. And it was a fabulous day. She came bouncing up to me afterwards, and I told her how proud I was of her, and that her brother and her father were equally proud. And she should be too. And she said, Bruce, this is a really special day. I said, what do you mean? It's my brother's birthday. I'm not making this up. I lived this. We gave each other big hugs, and we cried. And remember I talked about, or that hope, although not necessarily measurable, it is visible. And in front of me that day, I had a young woman who was filled with hope, along with the other 100 people that had walked across our stage. Sarah's gone on. She's been through Bow Valley College and got a diploma. She's completed her degree at MRU, and she's working in a group home now, giving back to young people what was given to her. As a high school principal, you might think that what I think is important, that is every student walk out with a high school diploma. High school diplomas are nice, but they're not the end-all and be-all. What I think is important is that somewhere along in a young person's high school career, there was one adult who cared enough to make a difference in their lives, that helped them pursue their dreams. And the other thing I hope for all young people when they leave school is that they have hope in their hearts. Because young people who have hope in their hearts will change the world for the better. They are the only ones that do. Thank you.